Next tonight, a roundup of the day's news and sport from Carol Barnes at ITN.
They're coming home from war, looking to the future with expectation and hope. But life will never be the same again. Homefront.
He's my brother, I'll tell him.
Oh, I should tell him.
I make it back in one piece, and Sarah tells me that she won't marry me? Is she seeing someone else?
She what?
A lavish new drama series, Homefront, begins Monday at 2 on Channel 4.
I did that.
It was nice of her to do that.
Someone else did all that.
I didn't know they did that.
I'm glad they don't do that.
At Thomson, we spend 52 weeks a year making your 2 weeks perfect.
So where's all the cowboys?
What's that? We should have left this stuff. Then let's do it. Have a nice day.
Okay, so let's leave it all.
The 106?
No, Tony's flat.
The Peugeot 106. Leave it all behind.
What? My Tony?
Now at MFI, 44 kitchens are at sale prices, but that's only half the story. Hygiena's new Contour Beige style comes complete with oven, hob, extractor, sink and taps and costs under £600. Schreiber's new Kendall style comes complete for under £800. Get the complete picture at the MFI sale. It's on now.
Free for every read of the first of 4 hot hits of the 70s CDs or cassettes. Take your voucher to a selected stockist or pay postage and packing, all in the news of the world.
Hey, did you know we can save a massive 11% if we book our holiday at Lunn Poly now? Get away.
The stars you love, the movies you want, are coming to Saturday nights on Meridian. Join Patrick Swayze for some dirty dancing tonight at 9:35.
Good evening. The news and sport from ITN. Tonight's headlines. Another government resignation. A minister's aide goes after a property deal row. And Sydney surrounded by flames. No let-up in Australia's worst bushfires.
And tonight's main sports headline, Torval and Dean dance back to perfection.
There's been another blow to the government, the second resignation in days. Alan Duncan has stepped down as Parliamentary Private Secretary to the Health Minister, Brian Mulwiney, over his role in a property deal. Also tonight, the former Environment Minister, Tim Yeo, is reported to have fathered a second child outside marriage.
Tonight on holiday at a Swiss ski lodge, Mr. Duncan blamed the press for hounding him out of office.
Well, I'm very realistic about the brutishness of modern British politics, and when the tabloid press build up such a head of steam, the politician in modern politics has no way of answering back. So I thought, for the sake of my minister, I'd just take a step back.
The former council house that led to him going is now worth hundreds of thousands, situated near Conservative headquarters in fashionable Westminster. Before becoming an MP, Mr. Duncan had bought number 18, but put up cash so the tenant next door could also buy from the council. Now the MP's got both. Today he was accused of exploiting right-to-buy rules intended to help ordinary people become homeowners. Within hours he resigned.
There's no suggestion Mr. Duncan's done anything illegal in this transaction,
But the revelations come at the end of a week when questions have been raised about the standards of behaviour of MPs, particularly those on the government side. John Major had used one of the houses as a base for his Tory leadership contest. Mr Duncan's seen in the background. Now Labour say the row shows further flaws in the Prime Minister's Back to Basics campaign.
And it seems to me to blow a real hole in the back to basics claims of the Prime Minister when members of Parliament are able to benefit at public expense.
The Minister Mr Duncan would have served gave his response.
As you know, he was only appointed just before Christmas, and I was looking forward to working with him. But I respect his decision, and as far as I'm concerned, the matter's now closed.
But tonight more trouble for the government. Tory officials in Tim Yo's South Suffolk constituency held an unscheduled meeting to discuss the disgraced ex-minister's future as their MP. Reselection is not ruled out. It came as Mr Yo admitted to Sunday newspapers that he'd fathered another child when he was an unmarried student in the 60s. So far it's been a bad start to the new year for Mr Major, with 2 resignations and trouble brewing in the Tory heartlands. John Draper, ITN, Westminster.
Sydney is circled by fire tonight as the death toll from Australia's bushfires stands at 4. 130 fires are raging throughout New South Wales, some within 5 miles of Sydney city centre. The worst are in the Blue Mountains and in northern suburbs down to Chatswood. In Sutherland, a woman was killed and her 2 children badly burned.
A brown shroud of smoke has hung over the whole of Sydney as a ring of fire burnt around it, leaving the stench of the flames in everyone's nostrils. More than 100 separate outbreaks were recorded. In the northern beaches, a fire wall advanced through the bush at a terrifying pace. Residents tried to save their homes and possessions and ended up trying to save their lives. Thousands of people were ordered to leave their houses, some of them waiting until it was perilously late.
Right there.
Others simply decided to stay while their homes burnt around them.
Jumped in the pool and we sat in the water and fireballs went over our head and just went straight through that lot there.
We were burrowed into a rock, under a rock crevice, my son and I with a wet towels and a bucket of water. And I've got to say, at one stage there, it was touch and go. But we're here.
To the west of the city, the Blue Mountains caught fire, fanned by strong winds. At times, there were reports of a firestorm. There were also fresh fires to the south of Sydney, leaving little refuge for the wildlife trying to stay ahead of the flames. Hundreds of families have now lost their homes throughout this area, and parts of the suburbs of Sydney are beginning to resemble a wasteland. It's now hard to see how the fires are going to be put out unless it rains, which is what everyone is praying for. Jo Andrews, ITN, Sydney.
Well, it's early Sunday morning in Sydney now, and Jo Andrews is there. Jo, what's the position there now?
Well, it's been a reasonably quiet night here. The winds dropped last night, and in fact they've now changed round to the southwest, bringing slightly cooler air in. Nonetheless, the winds are now beginning to get up, and that's what everybody fears, because that flames the embers and then the fires can start again. What they've been doing throughout the night here is actually trying to burn off some of the bush that was affected by the fire yesterday, so that the fire doesn't come back through today and take out some more houses.
So how have the people living there been reacting to the danger?
Well, they've been reacting in different ways. Some of them, like those 2 men that you saw, elected to stay in their own homes, whatever the cost. One of them nearly lost his life, but he said he'd built that house, it had been standing 14 years, he was absolutely determined to save it. For others, it's been a tragedy. The young woman in this area dived into the pool, she lost her life, her 2 children were badly burnt.
Jo Andrews, thank you. Here, there's a threat of more flooding in the south, with heavy rain forecast for tomorrow. Today in Sussex, 20 Green Goddess fire engines joined the fight to pump the water out of Chichester city centre.
No overnight rain, a breathing space for Chichester, and valuable hours for the emergency services to plan their defences. On the front line, a fleet of Green Goddesses pumping water away from the city centre. A constant stream is being sucked from the River Lavant through a network of piping towards the sea. This must be completed before the next deluge.
We haven't got that particular level any lower, then we are getting very, very close to the break point, at which time we've lost our barriers and the water will flood the town centre.
The water flow along many roads has been recorded at 1 million gallons an hour. Bursting its banks, the Lavant then breached makeshift flood barriers. Shopkeepers shutting up for the night are grateful for another day without rain. But they are bracing themselves. They know within a few hours the onslaught could start all over again. Steve Scott, ITN, Chichester.
Now today's sport. With the details, here's Graham Miller.
Non-leaguers Kidderminster knocked their First Division neighbours Birmingham City out of the FA Cup in a dramatic day of cup football. The home side took the lead, but Neil Cartwright equalised for Kidderminster on the half-hour. The winner came in the second half, John Purdy giving the non-leaguers their first ever tie in the fourth round. Embarrassment for Jerry Francis, the Queen's Park Rangers manager. His Premiership side beaten by County of the second, despite taking a first-half lead. Jason Dezelle saved Tottenham's blushes. He grabbed a late equaliser for the record winner of the Cup against the First Division's bottom club. And Liverpool were locked 1-1 at Bristol City when floodlight failure forced the game at Ashton Gate to be abandoned. In Scotland, 2 more goals from Mark Hateley helped Rangers extend their lead at the top of the Premier Division. They're now 2 points clear of Aberdeen, who drew with St Johnstone. Motherwell's game with Wraith was postponed. Torvill and Dean unveiled their eagerly awaited free dance routine in the British Ice Dance Championships in Sheffield this afternoon, and the follow-up to the Bolero earned a string of perfect marks.
A deep breath to calm the nerves, and Torvill and Dean faced the music and danced back to the top. The drama of Bolero has been replaced by more basic but still breathtaking dancing. Their coach said it was the most difficult ice dance programme ever. The audience loved it.
Absolutely stunning, absolutely superb.
They're so together, like they're shadows of each other.
They've just got what it takes. It's just there, magic.
The judges thought they were magic too. Perfect marks for artistry.
It was special.
Special.
You know, performing again, and it was like, it's sort of a homecoming, I guess.
They go for Olympic gold in Norway next month. Andy Gill, ITN, Sheffield.
Rugby League, and Wigan are through to the Regal Trophy final after beating Salford in a gritty semi-final. Wigan's Jason Robinson was named man of the match for his part in a classic try. He shot through 3 Salford defenders before dodging a fourth and linking up with Gary Connolly. It was Martin of Fire who scored in the corner for his 15th try of the season. And it was Fire again who launched Wigan on their way for their final try in injury time. Barry John Mather, the scorer. Wigan will now meet Castleford in the Regal Trophy final in a fortnight's time.
That's the news and sport tonight from Graham and me. Good night.
Good night.
Hello, good evening. Well, I'm afraid yet more problems for the flooded parts of the country. One frontal system coming across the country through this evening and tonight, bringing rain. And as that one clears away, yet another one turning up in the west. That's set to rush across through the day tomorrow. Well, let's deal with tonight's rain first of all. This is how the Met Office computer sees that rain. We have one band right across the middle of the country at present. It'll be moving away eastwards. Clearer weather coming along for a time, but misty perhaps. Some fog patches there before this next lot turns up in the west. So that's how we'll start tomorrow. Basically still that rain down the eastern side, clearing away during the morning, then a drier, brighter slot, the next lot of rain out here to the west. And by about lunchtime, I think you'll find that in across all of Northern Ireland, coming in towards South Wales and the southwest of England. Elsewhere though, I think mainly dry, quite bright. You'll find then through the afternoon that rain continuing its eastward progress and across much of central Scotland, much of northern and central parts of England and Wales, and quite heavy rain. Then Northern Ireland and the southwest becoming a bit drier later on. Looks like being a slightly milder day than we saw today, but a windy one, especially in the west, where the winds will touch gale force. That's it from me. Good evening.